Blessed be all my people out there. In this video, we are going to be sitting down and having a look and see what is going on when you get a reading with me. So this last week, I brought back my Patreon lives, and for 1 hour, I did a live Q&A session where I also allowed my Patreon supporters that were in the audience to send me questions or unmute themselves or call in and ask questions that I would be then doing readings on live. And of course, they know, as I've been saying, that these readings would also be recorded, so I could take them and put them up for you. And so from this last session, I've actually taken 2 of the questions that I was reading for two audience members, and I have put them up here for you so you can see what it's like when you come to me for a personal reading, because I do personal readings. I'm not just here throwing stuff out on social media and YouTube. That's not my way. I'm here to give readings to you, and my forecasts, while they're all there to, again, be giving forecasts for thousands of people, personal readings get personal. So I've selected 2 questions that I thought really did kind of cover the spectrum of what happens when we ask and look at a question or a situation a certain way versus another. And I think they highlight exactly what you can expect and what you might want to bring to the table, as well as what you need to be ready for when it comes to a reading. I also found a way to mute my shuffling, so you don't have to worry about hearing a bunch of thuds and cards slapping together as I'm getting the cards ready to go while I'm reading for these folks. The first question is about somebody looking for a new job. And we actually discover in that reading that this person had already found an opportunity or the company or the space that they were going to work for. And without any kind of prior information, I was already able to pick up on the time frame where they were interacting with that particular opportunity. The second question was about somebody who had aspirations of moving to Europe. So I hope that you enjoy these questions. I hope that you enjoy this demonstration. I'll be coming back with more lives and more samples of live readings with me for those who want to know what it's like if they ever wanted to get a session with me. And if you ever want to sit in on a Patreon live, you can go to my Patreon page, and I'll leave a link in the down bar below for you. And for anybody interested in getting a personal session with me, of course, it's always at integrativemysticism.com. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what's going on with this last live and the questions I chose for this video. All right. And so looks like our third question is ready and raring to go. So we did ES, and so this is going to be EL. For y'all. So I'm just gonna unmute you, EL, so we can talk about it, or ask you to unmute. You gotta unmute yourself. Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. It's finally cooling off, at least in my neck of the woods. I don't know about anyone else in the United States. Most of my friends are on fire right now. And I got a lot of friends back in New York that are just sort of like roiling. So, and I feel really bad because I'm like, oof, it's July, so every air conditioner in New York has to break. It's tradition. But so, sending some cooling thoughts their way. But I was going to ask you, just as I have for everybody, could you please give me your birth date, time, and location of birth?
Yes, it's November 19, 1982,
Okay.
and the time was 6:07 a.m.
All right. And where were you born?
The place is Spencer, West Virginia.
Okay, so it looks like we've got you here as a double Scorpio, Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Rising, and Moon in Capricorn. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, sounds right to me.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, and so what's your question?
Yes, so I was wondering when my next career or job opportunity will be coming up, and how might it arise, like if it's something I'm recruited for, or I apply online to something I find, or through word of mouth or connections.
Okay. So new
Yeah.
job, new job, new
Yeah.
job. Okay, let's have a look and see. I think I want to look at the cards first for you. only because as far as your astrology chart is going right now, there isn't a tremendous amount of work opportunities showing up until we get, in terms of astrology, I feel like we were looking at astrology alone, which is why I like to do both. Sometimes astrology just tells us the season, and it's like, well, we can't always wait till September. We can't always wait till blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to look at the cards and see what might be going on with the traffic versus the weather. So just give me a sec. So I kind of feel like there's something that's either already been put on the table or it's something that's kind of crossed your path already that you need to be looking at here, because we don't have to wait. And again, you were there, not me, but I'm kind of wondering, all right, so you're asking about job opportunities, career opportunities. When's the next one coming? But, you know, with the Nine of Cups and the Knight of Swords reversed, I'm basically seeing that there's something that you kind of breezed past that you do need to give more serious consideration. I think feels like this would have happened somewhat recently, you know, sometime between about April and now. And I kind of feel like we've just, like I said, we kind of breezed past it. Like I'm not sure if this was something that came up in conversation or if this is something that we looked at or a recruiter reached out, but you're kind of being asked to retrace your steps a little bit. Like it's almost like you missed your stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What was going on? Make us available. This is still on the table for you. What was going on back then?
Wow, that's very interesting. So in the time that you mentioned, sort of like April, May, June, I was interviewing for a position that I was very attached to at a previous employer. It, to my shock and surprise, it didn't pan out. I was a little surprised about that, but they told me that they, would keep me in mind for other positions that arose. That I was still surprised that that one didn't work out. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it.
Was there anything else you were interviewing for? Because I'm trying to figure out
Not,
if, okay.
mm-hmm,
Trying to
not
figure,
at that.
not at that time. Okay. The only reason I ask is because I wasn't sure if that was the devil that was kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the attractive sort of, this is what my fixation is. I want this job. I'm not looking for
Right.
anything else. Tunnel vision mode, which is not good. Or if this is something that you can still have, you know, and maybe it's worth ringing these people up. Because I'm seeing with the Ace of Pentacles and the Two of Cups that, again, whatever was going on, maybe it was with that company, maybe it's still through that boss, maybe it's not that position necessarily, but something else. Like there is still something that can be grabbed there. You can have this job before Labor Day, is what the cards are saying. Go back, retrace your steps, call in, go talk to them. Again, everything here is saying Two of Swords reversed, you've already found it.
Huh.
Okay.
Got it. That's very helpful. And yeah, I had the inclination that I should be reaching back out to that employer. So maybe I will do that.
Okay. Good. Because again,
Thank you.
yeah, of course, because everything here is basically saying like, yes, you can. We just kind of be careful. And I would just say, I just caution you, don't, you know, I mean, it might not be that same position this time, right? Don't look for always key specific, like again, position, signs, things like that with this, because it's like, you never know. Sometimes we get something that we're not looking for that's better than something we could have come up with.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So, because, you know, people always say we're not perfect when they make a mistake. Well, it's like, also, we're not perfect when we do things we think are good either. You know, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
pleasant surprises happen. Retrace your
Right.
steps. Okay. If
Okay.
you decide after this call you don't want to, I am seeing another opportunity popping up in September that would be just as good. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what your employment situation is now. If you don't want to go back and talk, that's fine. And you can hang out where you are until September. That's there too. Okay.
Got it. Great. Thank you so much.
Your thing. You take care. Okay.
You too.
All right, good luck. Here looks like we got another one. And let me have a look and see what is, okay, who is up here next? Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna unmute you, but remember, since these are being recorded, I don't want you to turn your video on, so keep your video off, but I'm gonna unmute you. Or ask for you to unmute yourself.
Okay.
You there?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for Jay. And so Jay, I'm going to ask you what, first, what's your birth date, time, and location of birth?
9/15/55.
Okay.
Dansville, New York.
1855, Dansville, New York. All right. And what time were you born?
12:03 in the morning.
Okay. Getting precise. All right. So let's see what we're working with here. All right. And so, yep, here you are. Also a Sag. Looks like the Sagittarius people are the one who want to come here today. So Sagittarius Sun, it looks like Moon in Capricorn, and a Virgo rising. Does that sound about right?
Well, it was September 15th.
Oh, I thought I heard you say December. Sorry about
Sorry.
that. No, that's why I like to say it out loud. They're easy fixes. So that's why I always double check before I get down to business with people. Not to mention everyone always says things in different orders, or they say their months differently. And once you leave North America, everything's in different order anyhow. So it's like, I gotta read differently. Okay, so here you go. Sun in Virgo, Moon in Virgo, and a very, very late Gemini rising, almost a Cancer rising. It's right on the cusp. But does that sound more accurate?
Yes.
Cool. All right, and so what's your question?
So when I move, will I leave this continent, and will I develop a strong friendship circle there?
Okay, where are you moving?
Hopefully Europe.
Okay, so everything is really up in the air.
I am in the planning stages for 2025. Yeah.
Okay. So the issue with this question is not necessarily the fact that you want to move, but it's we're having what I would call a domino problem. And so we're kind of it's almost like we should probably ask, are you going to move first? It's almost like in order for the other question to be answered, the first question has to be answered. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So we can't really kind of go like, well, is this going to happen? But this is predicated on this happening. I'm not saying that to like call you out. I see this a lot when it comes to people asking questions. They kind of we skip a lot of steps. So so you're in the planning stages, but you don't have you want to move to Europe, but we don't know where.
Right. I'm going to visit this fall with
Okay.
friends and start
Okay.
planning.
Okay, so I think for you, since this is still kind of murky, I want to talk a little bit about your astrology chart for next year. And that way, that might kind of give you an idea of how things are going to maybe flow. But we won't be able to do like super specific just because of the murkiness of the discussion. Now, I do think it is possible and even likely that you will get a chance to move next year, especially as we go into the middle of next year, kind of between April and July. So think Easter to like this time next year. There's going to be an opportunity opening up. Now, a big part of that is due to fairly large amount of activity going on with your fourth house of home, family, and all of that. We've got a full moon lunar eclipse that's taking place in March in your fourth house. And so that's going to actually be what kind of kicks a lot of this off. It's going to be almost directly on top of your sun. So that, because it's going to be at 23 degrees Virgo, your sun's at 21 degrees Virgo. And typically a lunar eclipse like this, the way it's falling in your chart, will precipitate a move sometime within the next 3 to 4 months following it. So again, mid-March through, basically July. And so I think that if you feel now, but this is something that you would have to be ready to do. That's the thing about astrology. You would have to have your plan in order by then. So again, this is kind of the challenge with these kinds of questions. It's kind of like, well, what's your plan? Do you have a plan? Oh, it's not there. It's half here. I do think that if you do get your affairs in order and you get a good solid plan and idea in your head by the time we get to January, I think that you could absolutely move by the time we get to July. That eclipse on top of your sun in your fourth house, the fourth house rules your home and family sector. I think it's absolutely possible. As far as where in Europe, I'm not necessarily sure. I think that since you're still figuring that out, you're going to have to plan that out for yourself, because that way it's like, okay, if you did know where you wanted to go and you were kind of like, no, I want to go to Italy, or I want to go to Belgium or whatever, then I could be like, boom, let's look at Italy, let's look at Belgium, but we're not there yet. And so we're it's a little early to ask a question like that. But I do think that if you get your affairs in order and settled up here, by the time we go through July, you do know what you want to do. Yes, you will have an opportunity to be in Europe by July of next year. Okay, so let's have a look and see how this plan is going to go. One sec. Okay, I think the country or the city that you are going to move to will actually be made pretty concrete, or you might actually find out about it before you go on your trip. The Page of Cups is indicating there's something coming up here just as we get closer to about, I want to say probably end of October, around Halloween, where you're getting, I'm not sure if this is coming through a friend or this is something a friend wants to talk about, or is like there's an event or something that you just hear about, kind of calls your attention to that particular space. And the Emperor card upright is indicating that it might actually be a spot where I'm not sure if you know somebody or you have ties, or it's just kind of like near them. But there's help in actually kind of crossing the pond, so to speak, in making that happen. But right now with the Hangman reversed and the Queen of Wands reversed and the Four of Swords, it's kind of like, yeah, the situation is still a little bit too disorganized to bring into form. And so it's like we don't have a destination yet. But by the time we get to October, this Page of Cups is indicating, yes, there is going to be some kind of offer, some kind of help, some kind of boost coming your way. And by the time we get to January, February with the 10 of Cups, it's all systems go. You do have your plan. You do know where you want to live. And all of that is getting locked in motion for you to pull off in July. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So, well, thank you for your question. I'm just gonna, looks like we've got one thing here. I'm just gonna mute you again. Thank you though for the question there, Jay. And good luck to you. Good luck on your trip. So what did you think? These are just two examples of how readings can go with me depending on how we are approaching the topic, the question, and the intention, as well as how that topic, intention, and question is articulated as we are going through the session. Remember, tarot and astrology are there for us to look at and consult. How we are consulting it and what we're consulting it about does matter, and how we're going about approaching the topic of consultation is also crucial. As we saw in the first question, things were very specific and confirmed very much, following on point with a lot of things that were already going on in that querent's life. The second question started off a bit murky because the question itself was not necessarily all together. It was still very much in the planning phase, so we had a bit more up in the air. But eventually we did come up with a timeline or discover a timeline of how that itself would get cleared up and this person would be able to still accomplish their goal or their agenda if that's what they wanted to do, because the cards were saying it's very possible. It's just, it needs to be formed. So it's important to pay attention to what we are working with, but also how we are working with it. So that is what I've got for you as far as this round of demonstrations is concerned. I'll be coming back with more demonstrations, of course, next month in August, when I have my next Patreon Live, which will be the second Friday of August. And if you'd like to sit in on one, you can, of course, go on ahead to my Patreon page, patreon.com/integrative mysticism, or follow the links in the down bar below. Or if you'd rather just get a personal reading with me, you can go on ahead to my website, integrativemysticism.com.